Yeah, these old albums are pretty cool. There's nothing like the sound of needle hitting vinyl. That's what people say, anyway. Dear Tim and Moby, our dad is always trying to get us to listen to Motown. Were they some band from like a million years ago? Curious, Sammy and Lexi. Motown isn't a band, guys. It's a record label that ruled the pop charts in the 1960s. Motown's music was a blend of different African-American music styles. The label grew so influential that Motown came to be its own genre. Motown squishes together the words motor and town. The label's hometown of Detroit was also home to America's auto industry. It had long been known as the Motor City. In its first decade, Motown had more than 100 top 10 hits. That would be impressive for any new label. What makes this story truly amazing is that Motown's artists were almost entirely African American. So were its producers, its staff, and its owner, Berry Gordy. Quite a feat, especially considering the time period. In 1960, America was still a segregated society. Black people were kept apart from whites in different schools and different neighborhoods. In the South, Jim Crow laws made African Americans second-class citizens. In the North, informal rules were just as effective at keeping them down. This racist system extended to America's popular culture. African Americans were largely absent from TV shows and movies, and in the music business, unwritten rules kept them off the pop charts. Major labels would sign mainly white artists. Only their records would be played by big radio stations and promoted on popular TV shows like Ed Sullivan. As a result, those songs would top the pop music charts. Black artists recorded on smaller labels. There were a lot of different styles, but it was all lumped together as something called rhythm and blues. For most of these artists, the best they could hope for was some play on a local radio station. Occasionally, an R&B hit would catch on and make it to the Hot 100. That's the chart that measures the popularity of all songs from every genre. This kind of crossover hit was rare. But in 1959, Berry Gordy saw an opportunity. He had written a few R&B hits for local artists, but none had crossed over. Working on an auto assembly line, he had a vision. A factory that cranked out crossover hits like cars. With his own label, Gordy would turn the tables on the major studios. He had watched the big labels take R&B hits and re-record them with a white artist. They'd change the songs, giving them simpler rhythms and harmonies. These covers were often big hits on the Hot 100. The original artist got little of the recognition and profit. Even more frustrating, pop acts would appropriate black music styles. They'd borrow elements from R&B, like distorted guitars, and use them in pop tunes with great success. Now, Gordy saw a way to beat them at their own game. If big labels could get rich using R&B sounds in pop songs, why couldn't he use pop sounds in R&B songs? And with his own company, the original artists could control the music and the money. With a loan from his sisters, Gordy launched his new label in a small family home. He posted a banner across the front, Hitsville, USA. His plan was to transform local R&B acts into megastars. The first band he signed was Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Gordy had written local hits for them before. Now he focused on one principle, making a song that was easy to listen to. That approach led to Motown's first smash hit. The Miracles' Shop Around sold over 1 million copies. It reached number 2 on the Hot 100. Yeah, not bad for an early try. Gordy wasted no time looking for Motown's next big hit. He scouted out music clubs for promising local talent. After signing with Motown, these bands would work with its production teams to hone their sound. The producers would hand off songs to a department called Quality Control. Only the best tunes would make it to Gordy's desk for consideration. Yep, just like an auto assembly line. But another crossover wasn't so easy to come by. After almost a year with no hits, Motown's finances were in trouble. Finally, in 1961, a song by 4 high school girls landed on Gordy's desk. Please Mr. Postman by the Marvelettes hit number 1 on the Hot 100. From there, Gordy and his team refined the trademark Motown sound. Call and response vocals taken from church singing, shimmering percussion pushed to the front of the mix, horns and strings to fill out the sound, and lyrics with simple, stripped-down melodies. The result was infectious songs no one could replicate. Musicians from all over the world wanted to record in Detroit. They hoped some of that Motown magic would rub off. Listen to just about any hit from the mid-1960s, and you can hear the influence. For the first time in probably ever, musicians weren't limited by their color. By the mid-1960s, Motown acts were headlining huge shows. Bands like The Temptations, The Supremes, and The Four Tops were appearing on TV. The label was making millions and employing hundreds of people. There was even a team in charge of its artist's image. Choreographing dance moves was just one part of it. Gordy also focused on how Motown artists looked, spoke, and acted. He wanted them to convey sophistication and elegance at all times. This was at the height of the civil rights movement. African Americans were fighting for equality across the country. Whether they liked it or not, Motown artists were representatives. Gordy wanted to be sure that they were putting out a positive image. There's no denying Motown's contributions to the movement. At shows, crowds that were once segregated now mixed. Black and white kids didn't just dance together, they started to hang out and become friends. That's why Gordy called his music the sound of young America. It wasn't about color, it was about youth, and the young people of the 1960s were ready for a change. By the early 70s, Gordy became more interested in TV and movies. He oversaw the production of The Wiz, an all-black remake of The Wizard of Oz. Diana Ross plays Dorothy, and Michael Jackson is the Scarecrow. Yep, Jackson got his big break with Motown. So did Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and the Commodores. In the 1980s, Gordy sold Motown to a giant media corporation. The label's musical influence had declined, but its legacy is huge. It was a source of pride through some of the darkest struggles of the civil rights era, and it brought people together in a way that only music can. Whoa, 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 whoa. No way Brain Pop can afford the royalty fees on that one.